Welcome to Two Bees in a Podcast, brought to you by the Honeybee Research and Extension Laboratory at the University of Florida's Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences. It is our goal to advance the understanding of honeybees and beekeeping, grow the beekeeping community, and improve the health of honeybees everywhere. In this podcast, you'll hear research updates, beekeeping management practices discussed, and advice on beekeeping from our resident experts, beekeepers, scientists, and other program guests. Join us for today's program, and thank you for listening to Two Bees in a Podcast. In this episode of Two Bees in a Podcast, we'll have two segments dedicated to Black Bee Honey. Black Bee Honey is a nonprofit organization created by young entrepreneurs with the city of Orlando, and it's giving students in low-income areas a chance to create a business. In this case, it's honey. You guys will be inspired by Black Bee Honey. We've dedicated two segments to it. And after we finish those segments, we're going to do everybody's favorite question and answer. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Two Bees in a Podcast. Amy, I'm really happy to kind of introduce this segment. I spent some time on the website for these individuals who will be interviewing next, and it's just really cool what they're up to. So I really look forward to sharing this with our listeners here on Two Bees in a Podcast. And what we're going to be talking about specifically is an organization called Black Bee Honey. It's based in Central Florida out of Orlando, but I think it's a really cool model, something that's neat to share with people around the country and our listeners around the world. And we have two individuals joining us from that group. We have Anthony Williams, who's the Black Bee Honey student, and we have Alexis Hicks, the program manager. Anthony and Alexis, thank you so much for joining us on Two Bees in a Podcast. I'm really excited about having you guys.
Thanks for having us. We're excited.
Hey, that's cool. So as I was just mentioning, I believe we actually have this, even though this is a brand new podcast, we have listeners from all over the world. So here's your chance to kind of introduce what you do to beekeepers. And I think what you do is really neat. So I'm just going to start.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. I'm just going to start at the beginning, and I'm going to ask you guys in your own words, what is Black Bee Honey?
So Black Bee Honey is a youth entrepreneurship program. It began in 2017 with like a group of kids that just, in the summertime, Orlando goes out and they'll disperse jobs to kids that want to work throughout the summer before school starts back. And this group of kids, they did not want to work for anyone in particular. So they were just like, can we work for ourselves? And long story short, they created Black Bee Honey with the name, the logo, what they were going to sell, and how many different flavors they were going to sell. So from that conversation, they worked with different advocates and building the program, and then they launched their product at the Farmers Market, Paramore Farmers Market in 2018, January. So they sold out that day, and then that's when everyone started kind of recognizing who Black Bee Honey was, and it became popular. They got invited to the Steve Harvey show to showcase what they have been doing throughout that year. Yeah, it was pretty awesome for the two kids that got to go, Christian and Chris. But in that time, they built partnerships with different companies throughout the downtown Orlando area, as well as igourmet.com. So they gave us our first national partnership, which was we were able to be nationally recognized and sell our product online. From that, we just was out in the public. The kids were literally, I would just say, hustling in a sense with meeting different people, networking, and building that bond and relationship with business owners and developing something to where they could sell their honey in their stores or in bulk orders. So from that, we'll teach them entrepreneurship lessons, and we partner with other programs such as the Sustainability Office here with Cara, and they'll teach us more about what it is to be a beekeeper and how to man our hives and how like literally everything from what a bee is.
I think that's so cool. I mean, everything that you've discussed is stuff that, people, you might have had to learn from scratch, right? Beekeeping may have been new to you. Selling honey may have been new to you. And one of the first things that you said is a youth empowerment program. And it's funny that you said that because I don't mean anything negative by this, beekeepers listening, but if you go to a standard beekeeping meeting, it's full of usually old people, right? So it's really nice to see that this is kind of coming up from the youth. That's so exciting. I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah, so I feel like you've sold Black Bee Honey. The next question I had was for Anthony, and what made you want to join Black Bee Honey? I mean, who wouldn't want to join Black Bee Honey? That's so cool that what you guys are doing, what you're selling and how you've started this entrepreneur. So, Anthony, what made you want to join Black Bee Honey?
Well, actually, in the year of 2018, I needed a job, and I had put in an application with Paramore Kids on, and I had went to the Callahan Neighborhood Center, and basically, like, they was asking us what type of job would we want, and I didn't pick any specific job. I said I would do anything to get a job, but not like that, but
And then they gave you bees, right? That's how it happened. That's cool.
So they had suggested Black Bee Honey, and I remember the first day I started, we was like jarring honey, and like since then I've been like very good at it, and like I enjoy doing it because we network with, like, multiple people and like new people, and it's just a whole different experience for me. So I love it.
That's cool. Did you like honey before? You liked honey? Did you like bees?
Oh yeah, I like the honey. I didn't like bees.
Well, that was my question. Have you been stung, Anthony? Have you gone the whole distance?
I done been stung before.
What's your favorite honey?
I would say orange blossom.
Okay, that's a good
That
choice.
makes sense. Yeah.
It's funny, you guys mentioned being on the Steve Harvey show. Well, you've now arrived because you're on Two Bees in a Podcast. So I just wanted to make that point. So Anthony, Alexis, anybody who wants to take this, what did you learn from running a business, right? Because you're not just learning about honey and bees and beekeeping, but you're also learning entrepreneurship. So what have you learned specifically about running a business?
Well, what I learned was like about liabilities and like knowing your needs from your wants. Cause like we have financial classes too. So like they helped us like learn how to be financially literate. And like they taught us how to like save money and like different ways to like approach like customers and like work on our sales pitch.
That's awesome. So don't be rude to customers. Treat others like how you'd want to be treated, and don't eat all the honey, right?
I was thinking, Amy, when I hear this, it's like, I wonder if they take applications from 42-year-olds, because this sounds so cool. All right.
They wouldn't let you in, Jamie. That's
I'm
okay.
sure.
High school program. It's a high school program.
That's so cool, though, that you guys are like empowering high school students to learn business strategies. And of course, I'm fond of it because you're using honeybees, beekeeping, and honey production kind of as a platform from this. It's really neat.
Yeah. So, Anthony, you're talking about all these things that you've learned about running a business. What do you enjoy about it? What do you like the most about this?
Well, what I like the most about it is when like we went to like a lot of events and like met a lot of new people. So it's like a lot of experience. I felt like I may have not did that if it wasn't for Black Bee Honey. So like I like meeting new people and like experiencing new things. So that's like the greatest thing part about the program.
Yeah, I bet you're a very social extrovert. You like hanging out with people and networking. That's one of my favorite things about, I think, beekeeping in general and anything that has to do with honeybees. So that's really cool.
So I've just got to know, I mean, I've got these kind of questions I want to ask you, but hearing you guys describe your program makes me want to ask 1,000 different questions. So do you guys manage your own colonies? You have a lot of colonies that you run for Black Bee Honey, or do you purchase the honey and bottle it? I mean, how does it work kind of in that regard?
So we'll purchase the honey. As of right now, we're outsourcing from an apiary in Gainesville. It's in High Springs, Florida. But we do have one hive that we were lucky to work with Daniel and Cara on, and pretty much it's full now. We just have to figure out what's the next step on harvesting the honey from the hive and how to produce it pretty much for the public.
That's so cool. Well, you guys have mentioned a lot about this being a group-run business. So I'm curious, what have you learned about working with other people, right? All businesses have this structure. You've got colleagues in the business, you've got managers, et cetera. So since this is a group-run business, what have you learned about working with other people?
For one, I feel like what I had learned was like, without teamwork, the dream doesn't work. So like the one component of the business, like the team, like if one person don't want to work with the other person, it affects all of us as a whole. So like I learned that we had to cooperate with one another in order to be successful and sell what we wanted to sell, which was our honey, and do it
Mhm.
that way.
That's awesome. You guys, so when I was working in Orange County, I remember Paramore Farmers Market getting started, and I remember hearing about Black Bee Honey selling honey at the farmers market. So how was it? How are you at interacting with customers? Did that take some time getting used to? Is it true that the customer is always right?
Yes.
I like how you both say that at the same exact time. So what got, what was your experience as far as interacting with customers? Did you have experience before? And, I guess what was surprising about it working with customers?
Actually, like, I didn't have experience with like sales before because it was my first job. So like, it took a while to adjust with like meeting new people. But like, after I learned the sales pitch and like learned the product more, it was more like easier to like teach people about the product and try to convince them to buy it. So it was more so easy after that in a way. But like after I learned that, it was very easy, like just walk up to people and just introduce the product and like promote it.
So, Anthony, before we even started this, you had mentioned that you're going to turn 18 soon. So that means you're 17-year-old. You're a young person. You're doing this. And I remember I've actually personally been keeping bees since I was 12. And Amy had mentioned earlier to you that, you're probably an extrovert. Well, I'm not. I had to go sell at farmers markets, but I was always uncomfortable around people. I mean,
You're still uncomfortable.
Yeah, I really am, which is why doing this over microphone and over the online is easier for me. But were you naturally an extrovert? Were you naturally someone who could meet other people, or is that a skill set that you had to learn as well, since you're trying to get people to purchase your product?
Well, I'm like both, because like when I don't know people, it's like I be kind of shy sometimes, but like I'm very like outgoing and I'm like easy to I'm a likable character. So it's like at first I was kind of shy, but I was like, I know how to hold a conversation very well. So let me just do what I'm used to and
Yeah,
see it.
that's cool. That's so cool. This is so neat. And for those of you who are listening out there today, don't worry, we're going to make sure and link the website for Black Bee Honey in our show notes so that you guys can take a look at it. It's a well put together website. It talks a lot about the program, and I'm just incredibly impressed. And the listeners can't really appreciate what's happening here, but we're able to see you guys because we're seeing you on a webcam. Anthony, I see that shirt you've got on, Black Bee Honey. I've seen the logo already by the website. Did one of you guys design that logo internally?
So not me per se, but the I call them first generation kids. The first generation group, they actually did. So her name was Rara. A group of them, it was Rara, Christian, Christopher. They all designed it. Yes.
Well, Alexis, let me ask specifically about that. So kids move through this program, right? Is that how it works, or does the team just keep growing with former alumni? Could you kind of explain that part?
So they'll move through the program. That's the goal, is to teach not each kid in Paramore, but every kid that we can touch in Paramore would be great if they could learn anything from this program, from Paramore Kids Zone or Black Bee Honey. So we'll employ them for 1 full year within the Black Bee Honey program, teaching them these skills and working at the markets. And then they'll move up, either working at a different center, working within the program, we're trying to create a position now with the sustainability, but we'll talk about that.
That's just so cool. So let me kind of ask this question, within the entrepreneurship framework. What motivates you guys? And so maybe both of you answer it. Maybe Anthony first and Alexis. So what motivates you to do this program?
Well, what motivates me is like the new things that we learned from the program. So it was like, it actually like expanded my horizon a little bit before, because like I never was closed-minded, but it opened my mind more because like we met new people and like people from different walks of life, and like just what motivated me the most is like satisfying the customer and making sure like they will come back again and like building like some type of connection with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about you, Alexis?
For me, I think it's moments like this where I get to see the growth in the kids. So Anthony was in the program, like you said, in 2018. It's 2020, and just seeing how he is able to hold an interview and all the things that he's learned from the program, or even moments to where they're out and I get to see them interacting with those customers. That kind of just gives me like that extra push to find more work for them or find a different partner that is willing to give them knowledge, because that's just what helps us and connect with people.
That's just so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
what a great story.
How many people do you have as part of the organization?
As Black Bee Honey Group or Paramore Kids Zone? So Paramore Kids Zone is a huge group. It's at least, I would say, maybe 30 of us to 50 maybe. Black Bee Honey only has 10 youth and me as their manager.
Great.
And we have a team behind the scenes for sure, like Tara. She helps all our marketing.
Very cool.
Let me ask you, Alexis, do you have a favorite honey? Do you have to work with Black Bee Honey? Surely there's something that's starting to appeal to you.
So I personally did not like honey prior to this program, but I can say I absolutely love honey now. I've actually tasted it off of the comb, so I'm like, it's so good. Out of the 4 flavors that we have, wildflower, gallberry, palmetto, or orange blossom, I cook a lot with palmetto because it's easier to like hide that taste, that flavor in a sense, but it's still sweet. But to drink in my tea, I like wildflower. To drink.
This is just so cool. I mean, I'm happy for you guys. I'm proud of you guys. I wonder if I had gone through a program like this when I was a kid, if I'd ended up being a business person instead of a professor, because it's really neat what you guys are cooking up. And Anthony, like I said, we can see you on our webcam. You've got this infectious smile. You've been smiling the whole time we've been interviewing you guys. So that's just so cool, man. It's great to see what you guys are doing. It's great to hear about all the success of Black Bee Honey. And maybe if our listeners, if you guys just out there visit the website, again, in our show notes, see what they're doing. It can serve as a model for kind of youth empowerment, youth growth and development, youth business training, et cetera, in the areas where you live. But, you know, everybody says that the youth is the tomorrow of our nation and things like that. But I happen to be a youth minister at church, and I tell our youth, you know, you're not the tomorrow, you're the today. You can make changes today. So it's really cool, Alexis, Anthony, for seeing you guys involved in such a unique program that's really empowering youth and doing so much training. Thank you guys so much for joining us on Two Bees in a Podcast.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Guys, that was Anthony Williams, who's the Black Bee Honey student, been working with Black Bee Honey for a couple of years now, and Alexis Hicks, who's the program manager for Black Bee Honey. Check out their website. I think you guys will be really impressed.
Have questions or comments? Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at UF Honeybee Lab.
All right, everyone, welcome to this segment. We are going to be talking today about Black Bee Honey, how it started, and a little bit about, you know, intertwining bees and entrepreneurship and how the program got started. So with us today, we have Kara Borowski, who is the Sustainability Project Coordinator for the City of Orlando. We have Anthony Williams, Black Bee Honey student, and Alexis Hicks, the Program Manager. So they're going to be talking to us a little bit about how the program, the apiary program specifically started. We have another segment where we talk about the entrepreneurship and the business side of things. But from my understanding, they actually have one hive that they're all working on right now to learn about the process of beekeeping, which I think is really, really cool. So you guys, I'm just going to let you take over. What did you know about bees and honey before Black Bee Honey started?
Well, before I joined Black Bee Honey, I knew that you could use like honey for like your food, and like that's pretty much what I knew before. I know way more now, but like before I knew that bees die when they sting you, so I already knew that. But like I didn't know like they don't sting you unless you like messing with them. Basically, like until you tempt them, they won't sting you.
Well,
yeah,
Anthony, did you know
like
that?
People.
Yeah, did you know that honey was bee vomit?
Yeah, no.
You probably don't tell people that when you sell it, right? It's I always tell people, just as a point of vomit has to come up from the stomach, and the nectar really never makes it there. It's only in the crop, so it's not technically vomit. So you're safe to tell people that it's pre-vomit, so you're okay. So let me ask. I mean, there's three of you, right? Kara, Anthony, Alexis.
Yes.
Were you afraid of bees when you were getting into this? Right. Everybody's scared of bees. So what about you guys when you were thinking about taking on this honey and this bee project?
Definitely afraid of bees.
Yeah.
See, I was maybe a little hesitant, but I wasn't afraid. I had been stung before and haven't had any reactions. But it's definitely different when you're in a suit right in front of the hive and have them all around you. The first time you hear that buzz right next to your ear, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. But
okay, have you been stung since you've been a part of the program?
I have.
Okay. It's your badge of honor.
But I'm lucky to not have any reaction to it. So it just feels like a little bit of a pinch, and then it quickly goes away.
Yeah. So with Anthony and Alexis, had you guys ever been into a honeybee colony or honeybee hive before Black Bee Honey? And, how often do you guys go into the colonies, or have you not gone in yet?
So because of the current situation with COVID-19, we had planned on taking them out to an apiary at the UF IFAS Extension office in Orlando, but that was supposed to be in April. So the way our lessons were structured was a whole year of lessons, one a month for about an hour to an hour and a half. And first we were going to start off with basic Honeybee 101, talking to them about bees in general, about the castes and the way they communicate with each other. And throughout the months, we were going to tack on some more lessons, eventually leading to the fourth lesson, which would be the visit to the apiary, where we would get them all suited up, talk about hive tools and all the gear that you need before going into the apiary. And then we had planned on actually having them, dig their hands in. But that was a little bit of a, I guess, sad discrepancy from what we had originally planned. But sure. I know that they have all seen the inside of the hive that we have. So our hive is actually located at our water reclamation facility. My boss, Daniel Friedline, started an environmental education center there. And right outside of the window of the environmental education center is the roof. The window looks right out onto the roof, and that's where we've placed our bees. So we can actually open up the hive and actually take frames out and bring them right up to the window and show all of the students that are inside the building. So we have pretty minimal risk there as well, not being out in the heat with the students, not being out on a roof with the students, and not having them directly exposed to the bees, and still showing them everything that we've been able to see inside the hive. We also have a microphone system, so we're able to talk to them and kind of point out different things that we have seen inside the hive.
You know what I think Daniel did, Jamie? I think Daniel came to our office and stole all our ideas and took it back to the city of Orlando, because I do work with Daniel, and I'm just joking around. He's a great individual. I'm so happy he started this. Yeah, I'm so happy about that. So I'm glad. I think urban beekeeping is so cool. So Anthony and Alexis, have you guys looked through the observation window? Has that changed your view about bees at all, or are you still a little hesitant?
It's a cool view, but I'm hesitant because, like we said, it's a lot of bees in there. It's cool though. It's really cool to see.
Yeah. What about you, Anthony?
I'm hesitant, but I'm really not, because they said they have, like, with the proper equipment, it won't hurt as much if we do get stung.
Yeah,
depends on your pain tolerance, I think.
Yeah, I think that's key. I was interesting, Karen, when you said it felt like a pinch. I was like, man, whatever bees you're working, I want to get a hold of, because mine feel like a sledgehammer. Anyway, I think it's there's this. Amy, you made fun of me already about saying this is cool, this is neat, but I can't help but keep saying it or thinking in my head this is cool and neat. And so you kind of got a couple issues at play, right? You've got this business that you're running, this Black Bee Honey, where you're teaching entrepreneurship and all these responsibilities in business, et cetera. But now you're kind of trying to transition to where you're not just purchasing and bottling honey, but that you're actually having your own hives and making honey. Carrie, you just mentioned that you guys have, one colony on a roof. I'm assuming if you're wanting to bottle your own honey, there are plans to expand that to get more colonies. And I think, but my guess is if you do that, the actual interest in beekeeping, the beekeeping part of the business will grow as well. So can you guys talk a little bit about the direction that you're taking in this regard?
Yes. So I know that, so I've been with the city of Orlando for a little bit over a year now, and I know that they had discussed somehow being able to put bees on our property and produce honey off of that. And I know Daniel, once he found out that Black Bee Honey was actually traveling to go purchase honey, that it would be a great opportunity for us to be able to introduce the bees into our program. So extra incentive of keeping and teaching these students about bees and being able to provide honey for the program. And I think Alexis can touch on how much of a business sense that would make for us to be able to do that.
So that pretty much just cuts out the middleman in a sense. We don't have to go to Gainesville anymore. We can literally harvest 50 bottles or 100 bottles from our one colony. And once we have more than one after that, with having multiple meetings, we'll figure more out for the future.
Yeah, so you guys have one hive, right?
We actually now have 3. So we started off with 1 because you always want to make sure. I have heard that, it's best to have more than one hive so you have things to compare to when you're starting out. But from a monetary sense, we just didn't have the funds to do that right off the bat. So we started our first hive last October. So the students actually helped us construct the hive that we had purchased. And then in November, we had our very first lesson with the bees placed in the hive. And they've been doing really well for the past few months. And we felt it was time, and we had the resources to be able to purchase 2 new hives. A little bit later, I'll go into everyone who's helped us do that. But recently, within the past month, we have placed 2 more hives on the rooftop, and everything seems to be going really well so far.
That's great. How high is this rooftop that you're talking about?
It's on top of the 2nd story of the building.
I bet that was fun to bring the bees up there.
It was logistically very difficult.
I can imagine.
But when you have a cherry picker, it gets a little bit easier.
That's fair.
Well, you mentioned, I'm going off script a little here. You mentioned specifically fund shortages. I mean, are there ways that people can support you guys to help you get more colonies or more equipment or things like that? I mean, you guys have a system set up to take those kinds of donations, either both, financial or physical equipment and bees too?
Just simply by purchasing the honey, we could just keep it that way for now.
That's really neat.
Yeah, and anyone who is interested can look up Black Bee Honey's website, or if you're specifically interested in the education program, the apiary program, if anyone wanted to reach out to myself or Daniel specifically, we can field any questions, and we'd be more than happy to talk to anybody about the program.
But your long-term goal is to be able to have your own bees and interact with them specifically, and make and sell the honey that your bees themselves are producing in the Orlando area.
Yes. Part 1 of the long-term goal is to have hives on multiple parts of city property that we're able to maintain. And part 2 would be grabbing any of the graduated Black Bee Honey students who are passionate about it and having them being employed by the city of Orlando specifically to maintain the hives that we have.
That's awesome. I think that's really great. My next question is for Anthony and Alexis. And I'm wondering, Anthony, as soon as you start college here and, you're away from Black Bee Honey and maybe not involved with it anymore, what would you like to see happen moving forward for Black Bee Honey? What's your vision for it?
Well, my vision for it is that more youth get exposed to it, because it's a very good eye opener for some of them. Teaches them responsibility and ways to like manage money and how to become a business-minded person. So I just want them to get more exposure so they can like educate themselves on bees, because like everybody has like this stereotype of bees, and like bees are not bad unless you mess with them. And I learned that. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I think you're, honey used for food, and then they're stinging insects. Those are the two things that people, automatically think about when they're talking about honeybees or any stinging insect, actually. What about you, Alexis?
As far as the program, I think it would be great to just see more kids, again, like Anthony said, going through it and learning these lessons, as well as keeping on to the lessons by creating their own businesses after Black Bee Honey to see and be able to sustain for themselves. I think it would also be great for Black Bee Honey to continue to grow and get within different markets and areas and stores or online with our own online database. That would be great.
That's great.
So, Kara, a program of this magnitude must have a lot of people involved. Of course, we've been talking to you and Anthony and Alexis today, but surely there's probably a lot of people. You've been mentioning an individual named Daniel, and I'm sure there are others. So can you tell us who's involved in this program?
Definitely. We've had a lot of help being able to set this up. It's really a unique partnership between three entities specifically. That would be Black Bee Honey, my office, the Office of Sustainability and Resilience, and then Public Works, because our Water Reclamation Center falls under that. And Rick Howard really has been instrumental. He is the Director of Public Works, helping us get the traction and get the approvals, going through risk management, and really getting everyone on board within the city specifically with this program. Now talking about beekeepers and environmental scientists that have helped us set this up, I had met Andrew Beard, who last year was the president of Orange Blossom Beekeepers Association, and he was very excited to really help us get this program off the ground, because their motto at Orange Blossom Beekeepers Association is just to get more people to be beekeepers, and this is really the perfect way of them doing that. So Andrew Beard and OBBA helped us set up our very first hive and helped us with the bees. They donated the bees to us and have been there with us every step of the way, checking on them and helping Daniel and I learn everything that we really needed to know. One of their members, Jimmy Westman, took me out for the very first time. Daniel had been around an apiary before, but he had taken both of us out to an apiary, and that was the very first time I had put on the suit and opened up a hive and really got to see the nitty-gritty of everything that goes on inside the hive. And that was really the first time that I was exposed to that. So I really want to thank him. Our newest hives, we partnered with Jesse Azam at S&S Apiary over in New Smyrna. He has an incredibly large apiary with thousands of bees, beehives over there. He helped us with our most recent 2 hives that we were able to purchase from him. He loved the idea of Black Bee Honey and what we were doing, trying to foster a new generation of young beekeepers in Orlando. And so he was able to help us out with that. Finally, over at the UF IFAS Extension on J.K. Yarborough, I know, Amy, you know him. Mm-hmm. He has been helping us teach the lessons. I met him a bit last year, and he was very excited about the program as well. So he had helped me make up the slides and teach the lessons to the kids. He's been really, really instrumental in getting this up as well.
That is so amazing. I love all the people that you just stated. I actually used to work with them, and they're all fantastic people. I love seeing local beekeepers helping, upcoming newbies, so to speak. I think that's just amazing. I think that's great. Anthony, I hope in the future you become a beekeeper and you're able to also mentor someone. You probably know more than so many other people about bees, just by going and being a part of Black Bee Honey. So I think that is fantastic. And that's really, really awesome, guys. So thank you so much for being on this segment today.
Can I say one last thing?
You can say one last thing. Absolutely.
Wonderful. I just want to say that this is an incredible opportunity for other local governments to be able to work with local beekeepers and different beekeeping organizations within their communities. We can serve as sort of a framework for how other cities can help bring this type of program and initiative into their environments and help foster a new generation of beekeepers throughout the United States. So if anyone has any questions about how we were able to get this program started, if you want to reach out to Daniel or myself, we'd be more than willing to share all the information that we've gathered and hopefully be able to see this type of program in other cities across the United States.
Yeah, Kara, I hope that you end up with 50 plus emails from all of the states asking, how to start this in the country. I think that's great. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put your information, if you're okay with that. We'll put your email, we'll put the Black Bee Honey website on our show notes and in our additional resources. So anyone who would like to contact you all will be able to do that from our information. All right, everyone. So that was Kara Borowski, the Sustainability Project Coordinator with the City of Orlando, Anthony Williams, one of the Black Bee Honey students, and Alexis Hicks, the Program Manager for Black Bee Honey that we had today here on Two Bees in a Podcast.
It's everybody's favorite game show, Stump the Chump.
Alrighty, it is question and answer time. We've got 3 questions. Yep, favorite time of the day. Whatever time of day you're listening to this.
It's definitely got the best lead-in music, that's for sure.
Oh, that is for sure. I laugh every time I listen to it.
I do. My kids always want to hear
it. That's it. They just want to hear that section.
Like, Dad, are you going to do your podcast again? I'm like, yeah. Are you going to do your question and answer? I get so stoked when anyway.
I know. It just gets you so pumped.
It really does.
All right. So the first question is from Tim from Facebook. And he recently read that honey is not advisable to eat for pregnant ladies or for infants due to the bacteria that causes botulism and other toxins.
Absolutely. So thanks, Tim, for that question. I certainly cannot pretend to be an expert on this topic. And I'm going to start, at least
You've never been a pregnant lady?
I've never been a pregnant woman, but my wife has. Infant. 4 times. I was an infant, and my memory from being under 1 year old. No, in all seriousness, I cannot give medical recommendations. So I can, legally, I cannot give medical recommendations. However, I will tell you a little bit of the history around this issue, and I'll tell you, what you should do to find out more information. Number 1, there is a disease or an issue. It's not really a disease, an issue called botulism, and it's caused by a spore-forming bacterium called Clostridium botulinum. Now, this bacteria, under certain circumstances, can get inside of humans and produce a toxin that is really bad for people. It's, the whole process is called botulism. It can even be life-threatening. This particular bacteria is spore forming. So it reminds me a lot of American foul brood in that way, right? So in the spore forming stage, it can survive a lot of different climate related, issues that's thrown at it. And it's just persistent. And when it gets to the right environment, then it starts germinating and produces this toxin, et cetera. So this bacterium is actually found everywhere. It's in the soil. It's in other food. It's just all over the place. But for some reason, in certain people, it can be a problem, and it can pop up, produce this toxin, and make people very sick. Well, it has been found. This bacterium has been found in honey before. And as a result of that, there came a long-standing recommendation that when I was young, that children under 2 shouldn't eat honey. And then it oscillated to children under 1. And then I want to stress 1,000 times over, I'm not a medical doctor. So my comment to you is that any women who find themselves pregnant should check with their OBGYN. That's obstetrician gynecologist. Amy, I'm saying that terrible. Obstetrician gynecologist. In other words, the doctor.
Good job.
Yeah, they need to check with the doctor who is seeing them through their pregnancy and double check recommendations on consuming honey for pregnant as a pregnant woman. And then on behalf of the child, once the child is born, they need to consult with their pediatrician on the latest recommendations regarding children eating honey. I'd never heard that for pregnant women, but I have heard it countless times for children. So that's why I always suggest that women should check with their OBGYN for their own health and their pediatrician for the health of their child. I will tell you that my team and I produced a document on infant botulism and honey some years ago. You can find it as one of our University of Florida fact pages on honeybees. It's called Infant Botulism and Honey. We're going to make sure and link that document in our show notes for this particular question, and you'll be able to read a lot more about it. It's a great question. And again, it's always best for me to recommend that you check with your doctors to see what the current latest recommendations are regarding consuming honey.
Sure. So this is the second part of the question. Does that bacteria affect the bees?
It is not known to affect the bees, no.
Okay.
Or at least I've not heard that is the case. But that's an interesting question. But I've not heard that. I hate to make a blanket statement. No, it can't affect bees. But I've never heard of this being a problem for bees.
All right. So the other two questions we have were from Instagram. I will say I apologize.
Wow, thanks, Instagram.
Yeah, thanks, Instagram. But I apologize to everyone who is asking questions because, Jamie, there's like a, I don't know, it's a little inbox that's hidden. And I didn't realize that we had questions coming in until yesterday.
My goodness.
When someone commented like, oh, I messaged you. And I'm like, what? I didn't receive
all of this time, people have been asking us questions on Instagram and you've been missing those?
There were just a couple. I have the list together. It's fine. So we will be receiving a lot of questions from Instagram for the next couple of segments for the Q&A. Whoops. Sorry.
Sorry, Instagram folks. You should clearly be using Facebook. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not an endorsement, by the way.
So Justin from Instagram asked why certain queens have different colored abdomens. Why do we have different colors on queens?
Well, that is the easiest question I'm going to ask today, and it all boils down to...
You didn't ask that, though. I asked
or
that.
Answer. Question that I'm going to answer. See, I get so confused. You got me nervous. It's the easiest question I'm going to answer today, and it all boils down to genes. Not that she has her own different color genes, but that she has in her different genes. I'm talking about like genes and not JEANS. And if you there you go. Amy, you probably didn't even know that the genetic gene is spelled different than the blue gene. Did you know that?
You're right. I had no idea until now. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Anyway, so there are different stocks of bees. There are different lines of bees, breeds of bees. There are different subspecies of honeybees, and all of them have color patterns that are characteristic of their subspecies. So, for example, Italian honeybees are often known for being very golden in color. Some of the other bees like Carniolans or Caucasians, despite the fact the bee's called a Caucasian, they're both darker colors. The Apis mellifera mellifera, the northern European bee, is very dark color. So it's just what's in their genes. Usually the stock from which they're derived will indicate can be suggested by the color that they are. And I will tell you too, you've got to remember a queen is a mixture of her mother and the drone father. So, her color traits could come from one or the other or a mixture of the two. But that's it.
Even within subspecies, they could be different colors, right?
That's right. And Amy, that's a really good point because a lot of people use color as indicators or suggestors of subspecies, but that is not good anymore. In the United States, we have in areas of the United States, we have very homogenized or mixed populations of honeybees. And so, it's not safe to say, oh, this queen is golden, so she must be Italian. This queen is dark, she must be whatever, because, with the mixing of the species, the mixing of the subspecies that we've had, the stocks that we've had, the breeds that we've had, you can get this palette of colors produced in queens.
Cool. It's a melting pot of honeybee colonies.
Indeedly do.
That's neat. All right. So the last question for this question and answer segment is from Elena from Instagram, but also I know that you received an email of the same question. So
yeah, it's like
I guess she's not the only person that had this question.
Yep.
Why do honeybees washboard on the front of the hive? What is washboarding?
It's funny. I can tell you how I got that question recently. I was speaking using Zoom to a group in the UK, and I was talking about all the tasks and behaviors of worker honeybees. And before I gave that talk, I said, Jamie, you need to put in a slide on washboarding. I was like, yeah, I don't have
Wait,
enough
why
time.
did you think that?
So I did one because it's the one behavior that I've never tried to describe in a talk when I talk about honeybee tasks or worker bee tasks. And sure enough, I talked about all these tasks that worker honeybees do and didn't talk about washboarding. But a beekeeper from the UK emailed me and asked me specifically about washboarding. So that was like perfect timing. And of course, it's crazy that we get one on Instagram. Of course, maybe that one was a long time ago, and since you haven't been checking Instagram, maybe maybe it's just the first time you found it. But regardless of what brought these two questions together, I will do my best to answer. So, what is washboarding? I'll start there. If you've ever seen this behavior, it's odd, right? You look at the face of the hive, and you'll have these bees usually pointing down. So they're standing on the face of the hive, kind of pointing towards the entrance. And they're kind of going back and, forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards, just over and over and over, and kind of rubbing the surface of the hive, the face of their hive with their front legs or their antenna. They're just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
It's also called rocking, right? Isn't
Yeah.
it?
So I was thinking it reminds me a lot of like rocking in a rocking chair where you just sit there and rock and rock and rock and rock.
Do you think it just brings them calmness?
Well, I wonder because
chairs.
what's funny, Amy, is I'm actually a chronic rocker. Even when I was a child and my family didn't have a rocking chair, I would sit on my hands on a couch and just go back and forth. And my
Would you get in trouble for it?
Well, they invented a term. It was called bunking. So I bunked. And then I've got rocking chairs and I can't sit still. Even now, I'm sitting in a swivel chair rocking back and forth because I rock. I just rock. Anyway, back to washboarding.
We all rock, Jamie. We're
Yes,
awesome.
Yeah. No, I literally rock. But anyway, washboarding is and then you'll see on the face of the hive, there'll be hundreds, maybe thousands of bees doing this. So people have tried to figure out, what in the world are the bees doing this for? And I looked in the literature multiple times, and believe it or not, there's no consensus. We don't know for sure. There was a really neat abstract published that I read recently when I was answering the question from the UK viewer of my presentation. And I pointed out two papers. And in the first one, they were just trying to figure out what are the ages of the bees that do this behavior. And they kind of lead this abstract with this literal quote. It's from Katie Boer and Jeff Pettis from the USDA when he was at the USDA, Jeff was. And it says the worker bees exhibit a group activity known as rocking or washboarding on the internal and external surfaces of the hive. And they put, at the time, the behaviors believed to be associated with general cleaning activity, but virtually nothing is known about it. And what they did is they did a really cool research project and showed that bees typically begin this behavior around 13 days of age, and you'll see a peak in this behavior when they're somewhere between 15 and 25 days old. It tends to increase from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., and it stays pretty elevated until about 8 p.m., and even going into at night. And it's funny that study was just finding out the cohort of bees. Subsequent to that, there was another study that I'll forward these links to you, Amy, so that you can make sure and post them in the Q&A so people can check out these articles themselves. And this author had actually done some work on the behavior, and this author suggests that the bees are actually depositing pheromones on the hive entrance to help their nest mates find the hive better or easier. And these were the two kind of best papers that I could find on this behavior, where one paper points out the ages of the bees doing this, and the other paper suggests a newer reason beyond simply cleaning and smoothing the surface, to where they're saying, no, they are more likely spreading pheromones to make this hive unique and easily findable by nest mates. So there you have it.
You want to know how I know I'd be a really bad researcher?
I want to know how you know. I've got to know how you know that you might know.
Because I feel like if I saw them washing, if I just saw them
wash their clothes all the time.
If I saw them doing this, I'd be like, wow, bees are just very strange. And that would be the end of it. I probably wouldn't even question why. I'm like, it probably just makes them happy.
It's an odd behavior. And it's funny because doesn't happen all the time. You'll get these clusters of bees hanging on the nest entrance bearding. It doesn't usually happen in that instance. But if you look close, it seems to always be above the nest entrance. And they'll just be going back and forth and back and forth. And they're all doing it. It's crazy. It's like they're all
so crazy.
Zombie bees. And
maybe they're having a dance off or a drum circle or something.
But who knows? Who knows what goes through the minds of a bee? I tell you, they're incredible creatures. So I guess anything's possible.
Okay, so we really don't 100% know why they do that. It's just
We
a weird
don't.
behavior.
It's just waiting for some brilliant student to figure
Yeah.
out someday.
Sometimes I do weird things and just doesn't make sense, but I do it anyway.
Well, we have to figure that out too.
Yeah, okay, we'll do research on us.
An Amy
All right.
investigator. Someone could probably do a dissertation on you.
Probably. I would be so interested to see what they come up with. All right. So, yeah.
Really?
I would try not to be too offended by the results of the study. Okay. So everyone, thank you again. I apologize one more time for the Instagram. I'm still learning how to use technology apparently, but I will get to all the questions that we have on Instagram, Facebook, email, and any other way you want to contact us. Leave me a voicemail if you'd like, but go ahead and follow us. Go to a podcast app and rate us if you can. That would be really great. I'm actually not 100% sure what the rating does for us, but it makes Jamie and I feel really awesome. We feel very accomplished and successful. So keep it up. Thanks a lot. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Two Bees in a Podcast. We would like to give an extra special thank you to our audio engineer, James Weaver, and to our podcast coordinator, Jacqueline INJ. Without their hard work, Two Bees in a Podcast would not be possible.
For more information and additional resources for today's episode, don't forget to visit the UF-IFAS Honeybee Research and Extension Laboratory's website, ufhoneybee.com. Do you have questions you want answered on air? If so, email them to honeybee@ifas.ufl.edu or message us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at UF Honeybee Lab. While there, don't forget to follow us. Thank you for listening to Two Bees in a Podcast.